Hello, we are live with SEO Collective for here in December of 2021. Guys, we made it. What an epic year. You might have noticed that I'm here solo today. I'm not going to be joined with our wonderful co-hosts, Saijo George or Peter Mead, as they're taking some much well-needed break leading up into the holiday season. And we wish them all the best and look forward to seeing them in 2022. But guys, it has been a really, really big year. I am absolutely stoked to still be here at the helm. My name is Nik Ranger, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. We're going to be changing up the format a little bit. I still want to be able to go through what's there, but you probably would have read in the title already. It's a 2021 retrospective, everything that has happened this year. So I'm going to do my best to be able to break it down month by month and really, really just get into what's been happening over the course of from every month, what's been happening in SEO, of course. Again, guys, if you're new to this channel or if you're a wonderful subscriber, thank you so much for a wonderful year. We really look forward to the next. But please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also, put the bell on for notifications. So any new video that does get released, it will just be, straight in your inbox, or we'll give you a little bit of a notification on your mobile. Really, really appreciate it. Another little thing as well, there will be a nice little, things that we can be able to look forward to. We are actually looking at going back to doing live in-person events. So stay tuned for that. We're really hoping that maybe by the end of January, we can all look at coming together. And again, I know this is very much an international show, but we're based here in Melbourne, Australia, baby. And it would be so great to be able to just to come together and, to be able to share a beer with one another. So if you're looking out for that, please hit us up on our LinkedIn. I've got to remember all the places. Our LinkedIn, we've got an email. We've also got meetup.com. We're all over that. So really, really looking forward to that as well. Without further ado, we'll get into the meat of the bones. I'm going to share my screen. Share screen, and boom. There it is, guys. There it is, a 2021 retrospective. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Nik Ranger. I'm the Senior Lead Technical SEO here at Studio Hawk. I've been doing SEO for, a very long time. But I'm also an international speaker. I've got, some nice little things and accolades. But anyway, one thing that I will kind of get back to at the end of this book, it's now published, which is pretty awesome. So I thought it was a really nice way to wrap up 2021, because 2022, you can be able to find this in Amazon at the moment. It is, as you can see here, 66 of the world's leading SEOs to share their number one actionable tip for 2022. And of course, I'm one of the featured people in here, but it's a really, really good one, because honestly, the people that have been in here, and I've been looking through this a little bit, it's got some really, really great things, all of the kinds of things that we've been looking at this year. So really, really good one to be able to look after for the new year. But we'll get back to that to the end. So 2021. Now let's kick it off. Let's go straight into it and have a look at what has been happening in January. So of course, Google launches the Question Hub. This was pretty much only really available in a couple of different countries. I think it was like the US, India, I think also Nigeria, but Google has launched their new tool, their Question Hub. And it's basically like where it enables creators to be able to create richer content by leveraging unanswered questions. So what's then designed to do is to collect these unanswered user questions and surface them to bloggers and content writers and things like that. And it's a really, really great way to be able to, publish better content and things like that, just to improve the quality experience for everyone involved. So that was something that was released there. So what that kind of translates to is like when a user searches for something niche, say like we see it all the time in our long tail keywords. If they're looking for something niche, this is where the creator can be able to log into the Question Hub through their Google search account and all the questions will be shown, and the content creator will be able to have the option to write some fitting content for that. So it sounds like a pretty great way to be able to focus on new key phrases, right? Well, I think, since that's been there, like, I think, these are really super niche and very focused type of questions. So probably not be a game changer, like in your overall strategy and things like that. This is something that we haven't really applied here with any of our clients. But again, if you are a blogger, if this is really basically, your main thing that you are looking to do, this is available. It's been available since January of this year, the Google Question Hub. So yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see where that goes. The new performance reports for Google My Business. So, Google My Business, it's had a lot of iterations, and we'll really get into the evolvement of that, as the months go through with this retrospective. But when they launched this, the new performance reports, it's kind of had a bit of a mixed results. Like, let's be real. Like, the Google My Business Insight section looks and how like little insight people really had into like actually being able to look into the performance of those. I like jury's still out. And as you probably already know by now, a lot of this is like they're really hoping to turn on a lot more with the automation for Google My Business being Google My Profile, but that's really what that was there for to do. And of course, this was around the time that they updated the Search Console coverage report. Gosh, this is honestly such a blast from the past, because as I'm going through this, I'm remembering all the stuff as it was coming out. But the Search Console has had a lot of facelifts. It had a lot of iterations and things like that. So this report was really about giving you a lot more granularity around errors, warnings, and anything else that was happening, in and around your site. But you know what? It's still left a little bit to the imagination of things. And I think, this is like, Google's worked on this section and is really now starting to like look at the specific categories and errors and things like that. So it's a little bit more of like a helpful diagnosis tool, and be able to like actually see like how, how Google perceives your pages. So when this was rolled out, like honestly, like I think for us, it was really, really useful just to be able to go in there and say like, okay, these are, this is what we're seeing. We're not just seeing like, these errors and things like that pulled up from, the rich snippet tool, or, even the structured data validator. Like these things are, now reported in your Search Console, and we can be able to pick them out directly. So that was pretty cool. January, February. Search Console Discover Report, now including Chrome data. So I think this is like a new, a nice new functionality within Search Console. Actually being able to include some Chrome data with the Discover Report. And there was actually like quite a lot of really good data that was, still missing to really figure out like, what impact that Discover was having with the traffic of your site. So Google's Discover, look, it's not really like the same as Google search. Like it's a feed similar to a news stream, or I don't know, like, social media or something like that. Like Google creates for you when you open up a new tab on your mobile device. Like, so that feed like automatically suggests content that might be interesting to you. Now, Google's Discover has been a little bit hard for people to figure out, like really hard for us to even figure out, like, how to look at this stuff and how to measure it. So, this is something that was really quite nice, just to be able to get a little bit more of that Chrome data in there. And hopefully it like, that's why like it was there to make things just that little bit easier. And of course, passage ranking. Now, there's been a lot of like studies and things like that, and a lot of really, really great SEOs talking about passage ranking as it was going live. Now, when this happened, like it was rolled out in the US, so it's really focusing more on the relevancy of specific passages on a page. They can really show people the exact information that they're looking for right away. This would mean that there's no longer just like the pages that rank. It could also be like maybe like something in there, and you'll click on it and it'll actually like even scroll down to that, and it'll be like highlighted it out. So it's pretty a cool way to be able to say like, okay, search engines are really liking this specific one, because this specific little paragraph really helps to answer the question that the search intent really is, there and going after. So, you'll see this as well, like, where little bits and pieces of keywords will be even bolded out, just to be able to give you an idea of like, okay, these are the primary things that they're looking for, but here might be a couple of other modifiers and things like that that also are very much involved with that topic cluster of that search intent for that keyword, because we're moving away from keywords and we're looking more about topic and that cluster. At this stage, like, it was still pretty new, and we were sort of really not sure about how it was going to impact stuff. But at the same time, it's really great to be able to see that as it's rolling through. So that was February. If you do have questions, I'm not looking at the chat, so if you do have questions, please go through, ask them. I will get to them at the very end. We can be able to go through and maybe even have a bit of a discussion about the year that has been. March. And also, guys, I'm sorry if I'm going through this a little bit quickly. Just reading it off and just trying to get some good quick takes. So March. March was an interesting month. We had an increase in zero-click searches. This was more like around, I guess, like a lot more chatter. Like, this isn't necessarily something that was rolled out by Google or anything like that. But there was a really interesting study that got released by Rand Fishkin, that he was basically saying like, click-through rate and zero-click searches had really increased, and this opened up a lot of dialogue around, well, what is the responsibility of search engines to be able to bring more traffic to them, because Google is still a website, just like every other website that we look after. And keeping them kind of like a little bit more sticky on search, rather than actually clicking through to the websites with all these rich snippet opportunities and all kinds of other stuff, like short answer stuff and calculators and all kinds of other things that basically answer the question without needing to go to the website. So this study was kind of a little bit of that canary in the mine shaft to say, like, maybe there's a real bit of a problem here. And I think, it was like up to like, 60+% or something like that, like from that study. So it was a really interesting one to think about. Maybe a bit of like a personal hot take here. I think any way that you can be able to highlight and you've always got an option. You either play the game or you don't. If you don't want to play the game, then you might put like a no snippet tag or something like that, on your pages, and you don't get any rich snippets or anything like that. But at the same time, users don't care. They don't care. All they care about is looking at the search engine and making a qualified decision, a split-second decision of what they're going to either buy or what they're going to click through and read or watch or consume in some form, right? So if you're looking at a stack of maybe e-commerce results, like for a transactional keyword or like even a commercial keyword as you're picking out through different brands and things like that, well, maybe maybe having that review schema is helpful, or maybe having that featured snippet that gives gives that little hot take of a short answer that answers that question. All kinds of things. Like, how do you measure the impact of seeing a brand or seeing something really small? Now, I know that I've also seen that Google experiments with just showing the result and different URL results, or different attribution to who actually wrote that featured snippet. As far as I can remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think that experiment was discarded because it just didn't make sense, because there was no win-win for site owners. And again, Google is always sometimes landing itself in hot water with legal things, like just to really, really make sure that these things are fair. But at the same time, like it is so understandable that you're worried about your page visits. But again, I think like focusing solely on just getting clicks and hopefully making some money off it maybe is not the way to go. Like keep in mind that Google's objective isn't necessarily always to send traffic to your site. It's about like offering the best quality, about the best user experience as it can to its users. So as the online landscape changes, I think honestly do go back to the basics, back to the root logic. Why are we optimizing sites in the first place? So that if they do click through, that they're going to be able to make sure that the content matches the intent of why they clicked in the first place, and that you're not trying to inflate like reviews or inflate the image of it. Like keep it as true to the business as possible, and make sure that the service it basically meets what they promise. All those kinds of little things, even though that seems sometimes a little bit of a no-brainer, we want to be able to replicate digitally all the hard work that people do in real life. So if we start from that kind of logic and then work backwards from that, I think, asking for that longer term and maybe even like brand orientated strategy is just maybe a little bit more fruitful in the longer term when you really consider this stuff. Sorry, a little bit of a rant about that. News publishers, Google search, copyright, and permanent changes. This one's super interesting. So, as we're going into March, it's pretty much for a lot of countries, Australia included, it's a year on from, when, COVID-19 became a part of the whole ecosystem. And a lot of this, like, we're trying to figure out how search is adapting to be able to, change and amalgamate with very, very quickly changing user behavior, and a lot of this, like, with news and with, information across the web, trust is a major, major one. So, copyright, with content and things like that are published by newspapers or writers or anyone like maybe an expert author or something like that, seems the question to answer in the search results maybe good, but at the same time, like it kind of does break the business model of some of those content. So I think that was something that was a little bit dicey. And of course, like, if you do have maybe sensitive content that you don't want users to be able to see without some kind of consent, you're able to get that consent, you're able to go through that, or maybe it's a paid bit of content. Paywalls do exist, and there's schema around that. There's things you can be able to do. There's you can be able to even like have like a short snippet of like 80 to 100 words or something like that to be able to sort of preview what that is and be able to get that into the search engine results page, and then have the rest of the content paywalled. It works very well for a lot of newspapers and I guess like a lot of crypto businesses that have maybe a little bit more sensitive information, particularly when it comes to some insights and analysis that you just don't get that have like that more considered expert opinion and research behind it. But again, that was something that came up very much in March and was a bit of a hot take. But the thing that is sort of predicted that those changes from the pandemic might be permanent will be around like seeing events and things like that are virtual. Like there's been a lot of amendments and things like that to schema that really helps to outline this. We also saw that in Google My Business, all kinds of other stuff. So we've seen that. So events being virtual is kind of like now very much a permanent part of the landscape. Working from home is part of the landscape. Online shopping really becoming like not the secondary but the primary, and that becoming the new normal. Consumer habits, with this massive shift between like delivery expectations and like I guess like a level of customer service and quality of care and things like that. Like these kinds of things, obviously, right now, still in December of 2021, they're still very much a part of the natural vernacular on the streets. So that's really the way that search engines have seen this as well. Like these things are going to be a little bit more permanent. Yeah, I think, oh gosh, I think even online shopping, like where like it increased like it was like not 10,000%, maybe a little bit lower than that, but it was absolutely insane. Like we look at 2019 data to now, and it's just a completely different thing. All right, sorry, I'll get onto it. Schema update for video and educational sites. We love to see this. Like I love Schema because I think it's almost like from a philosophical view. It's a way to sort of like take really large bits of information, be able to categorize it and be able to define it a little bit. So, almost like asking the existential, what is a thing? What is the entity? And the same goes for video and for education. Again, trust being a really big one. But yeah, I guess it's like Google kind of like changed their documentation around like video SEO. So I think like when I say like structured data, like it's around like video object markup is now considered a lot more important than maybe even just submitting a video sitemap. So that was really super helpful because a lot of like even for some of our clients, it was just like video sitemap. But that focus on Schema is really something that I'm so super happy to see, and things like that. And so like even for like educational sites, supporting new Schema for that. I think like what was that kind of more about like. I think like it was around like FAQs and how-tos and things like that. Around like more educational questions. Yeah. I have to actually like go back. I'm a little fuzzy in this one, but like the markup like essentially like allows you to tell not you but Google what the question is, whether it's a multiple choice, time-based question, a formula, and things like that, and just really helps to kind of qualify that. And as you're going in there, like when you're looking at this sort of stuff, like you'll actually be able to mark it out in a really nice sort of more rich UX 10x kind of way, and it's a really kind of nice way to be able to do that. Yeah. So Google My Business releases tool to manage reviews. Yes. So with that one, golly gee. Sorry, this feels a little bit long ago, but if you're a business, any business that gets like reviews online, it's an absolute pain in the rear to manage these reviews. So particularly when you get spam reviews, bad reviews, and things like that, to be able to respond to that, this is kind of like where they're trying to make this stuff a little bit easier. Now, we all know that Google My Business, has a very long, I'll get back to you kind of like wait time for this stuff. But I guess like, for this stuff, like when you get this, the process is to do something about this review. Yeah, it's just trying to like make it a little bit easier. Sorry, I'm literally trying to remember what that looks like. Just trying to remember. Oh my golly. I do apologize, guys, but this was a little bit a long time ago. But honestly, I think like, yeah, no, I can't remember this one. But anyway, we will move on. They're trying to do that. So yeah, we'll just move on from that one. April. All right, so April, the new product reviews update that came about then, and golly gee, so when they rolled out the new product reviews, this is this was like an algorithm update. And I think this one got a little bit of like a lot of attention and things like that, because a lot of websites, particularly e-commerce, might not have any ratings or reviews. And a lot of people were sort of wondering whether or not that this is going to affect them negatively if they didn't necessarily have them. But this one, maybe a little bit more, outside of that, really did hit sites pretty hard, and particularly affiliate sites. Now, a lot of people have got different opinions when it comes to affiliate sites and things like that. But like, these sites, will all, like sometimes like, collect like review products and kind of like a simplistic way. And I think Google's like, this is kind of a lot of bloat. Like it doesn't really give anyone something meaningful. So we're gonna strengthen up our algorithms around this and really kind of like go after and kind of just cut the fat. But again, it hits sites super hard. And I think, really what they were after from looking at this stuff is, having those in-depth reviews, having those like really well thought out, like discerning kind of reviews where it's just like, oh, this product is great, awesome. It's like, I spoke with Steve and he really helped me sort of qualify, what I needed. And we had a bit of back and forth. There was a little issue around pricing because like there was a dent in this, but I really loved the service of, this mechanic, because at the end of the day, he outlines what I needed and things that maybe I should look at maybe like 6 months down the track. And I just really, you know what I mean? Like that more in-depth kind of review. So again, I think for a lot of affiliate sites and things like that, they saw a pretty significant drop in traffic from that. So I think for them, it was kind of like, wow, I really need to rethink the way that, I build out my sites, which was a lot for a lot of people. Google Search Console improvements. I wrote this. I remember this was happening, but I think this one was around like around the performance reports. So, now like with this one, I think, that's right, of course, the filter function. I use it all the time, and I'm like, oh right, that happened in April. Sorry, sometimes looking back at this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's when it got rolled out. But honestly, this is something that we use literally all the time. But improved filtering and comparison and things like that is such a really, really great way to be able to see, 3 months before, all the way up to 16 months, what's kind of happening with the site. And of course, like with comparisons, you can be able to look at, month on month or year on year, that sort of insights with your Google Search Console. And it's really, really great to be able to see, like, maybe even like with migration work and things like that, or if you're even just wanting to sort of see the performance of a keyword, and you can be able to export that raw data out and be able to run it maybe with like some other tools and like do some bit of cross analysis there. But having that granularity has been really, really super useful. I think there was also something like, okay, if you love regex, this was like literally the thing that just trying to be PC here, but it got your rocks off. Like a lot of friends, and like even remember my very good friend Peter Michinkovich was like so excited about the regex filtering option for that. But again, like that was super awesome as that rolled out. This one was something that more hit our US based clients, but this one, like hiding their health prices from Google, barred by regulators in the US. Pretty sure that there was actually something that happens that I think the regulators there were just like, okay, we have to be able to have better transparency with that. So we're going to lean on the search engines to be able to provide like more qualified information for for consumers and things like that. So I'm pretty sure they made it illegal to hide like any health related pricing information from Google. I mean, the US health system is a wild, wild west, but I'm really, really glad that they've decided to make that move, just because, getting a price hit after the fact is always like a really shocking thing, I think, for anybody. But yeah, this is really, really what that's come through and happened, and I'm pretty sure that as a result, search engines have kind of like either pulled it out from the HTML and stuck it on there, or it's just kind of like not rewarding any of these pages that don't have any transparency to their prices. So not only is it illegal, but also you will face some, I don't know, you'll be pushed further. Your result might not be shown as competitively as you would hope in the SERPs. May. I'm just going to take a little sip of water here, guys. Love it. Also, too, just a little reminder, if you have some questions and things like that, I'm not looking at the chat right now, but please post them in there. More than happy to go through them at the end. As we get into May is a wonderful month. It's also my birthday month. But, for this, I've got a little bit of a birthday present here, because Google's MUM finally rolled out. It was a new language model, and it was really, really awesome to be able to think about how this is going to affect search and things like that. So MUM, which is the come on brain, it's been a full day of SEO, but you can do it. MultiTask unified model. I think I got that right. Obviously, we love an acronym, and so does Google. But yeah, the MultiTask unified model, which is basically like Google's next step from Google BERT, about the understanding of natural language and natural language processing. It's supposedly supposed to be so much more powerful than BERT. That was released back in 2019. And the general idea is that it can multitask and be able to generate content. It can also be able to be there to be able to generate some content and things like that. So it can read text, it can understand the meaning, form a really, really good, very in-depth knowledge about not just the keyword, but the whole topic and its cluster that it sort of lives in, and be able to look at video and audio, and not only that, be actually able to look at 75 different languages and be able to translate that into some multi-layered content and things like that to be able to answer some more complex questions. And Google even released a really, really cool video around how this looks and things like that. Very, 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 very cool stuff. And it's really awesome to sort of kind of think how this is playing out in the SERPs, and how it's going to be there. To be honest, from what I've really loved kind of seeing as Google MUM has been able to be rolled out, is that a lot of longer form content that really is kind of written by maybe some more learned people, some experts within their field, writing these kinds of maybe even more opinion pieces have been pulled out, and I've seen little bump ups and things like that over the last few months. It's been super interesting to sort of think about why that could have been. More to the point, it offers some rich contextual information and things like that I think maybe beforehand it kind of just glazed over that and didn't get too much of this, because it's looking for certain key things. But now looking at the the whole now wanting to move away from ranking maybe the best page for certain key phrases, maybe taking pieces of relevant information across different pages, and maybe even different formats with images and bullet points and video and audio, and things like that, and giving maybe a little bit more variety in our SERPs. It's starting to really nicely bleed through, and and see nice bump ups from that. So if you're sort of wanting to think about your content and how you want to do that, honestly, Google SERP is always the best in the first place you should always go. what is Google presenting to users that it thinks is the best, variety of information? Is it pulling out an image carousel? Is it pulling out, some bullet points and things like that? Is it pulling out, people also ask all kinds of other like different things. Like how is it sort of even setting up the page? Is it also got like video little snippets in there as well, or shopping, things on the top hand, the right hand side, and things like that? What kind of things are presenting? Consider all those things. Look at your blank page and say like, how can I be able to hit all these key points, but also make it super relevant to what I'm doing. If you can be able to go through and do that as best as you can, I think that's a really, really good place to be able to start with the logic there. Google's shopping graph. Alrighty. Google shopping graph. Do you remember that? Do I remember that? Surely. Sure I do. Yes. Is this about Google Merchants? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I was so deep into Google Mum that I'm like nearly now having to pivot a little bit. But Google Shopping. Let's just talk about Google Shopping right here to like about the shopping graph. I'm pretty sure that this was there for, is this for about the Office stuff? I'm asking you the video, but I've got to think. So I think like when we were looking at this stuff, is this around like organic shopping? No, that was ages ago. Anyway, I'm gonna just talk about this for a little bit. So I think it was just about like more information about products and more information about the seller, and essentially like, yeah, I think that's what it was. But we'll talk about that for a hot take. Like Google asking website owners to mark up products, like with their, the products with their structured data. Now, as we'll cut back to like even to like the most recent one with like the product reviews update and things like that, but like way back here, in May, like when it comes to like Google Shopping, having structured data to be able to bracket up and be able to make things really nice and easy for it to be able to pull it out of that JSON-LD, or organize your information in a way that it still be able to pull that out of the HTML. You're really there to be able to pull out all the necessary information around your product. So like a nice description. I think I even like looked at doing some product schema today, for instance, but like all kinds of ways that you can be able to pull this out. So like being like looking at the name, looking at the image so that it can be able to place it there. What even dimension that image is, any offers that are on it, some reviews and the aggregated sort of ratings around that. A really good, rich, succinct description, what brand it is, and all kinds of other, modifiers with its SKU information and things like that. Maybe even what kind of category or material that it's made from, because maybe that might be super important to people. Model types, product IDs, colors, all those kinds of other rich things that that product schema has a really, really rich variety of a library that you can be able to pull from to be able to give more information. I'm pretty sure that this is really what it's there to be able to, give you more information that will pull into your Google Shopping from your Google Merchant Center. But yeah, so I'm just going to leave it there. And of course, we'll go to the next one, the new Schema Markup Validator. My gosh, that was in May. I even remember tweeting about this because there was always like the ums and ahs, like whether or not it's going to be taken away or be replaced or be hosted somewhere else. And of course, if you guys even go to that right now, you can be able to go in and be able to see it. It's the new Schema Markup Validator. It will be able to redirect, and schema.org is is where it's being looked after. And I really like this because I think it's just there, and it's going to be updated a lot more frequently. So you can be able to still use your rich snippet testing tool, or you can be able to use a markup validator so that you can actually test different scripts and make sure that that they're not presenting any errors, or if there's any warnings around this, like you can be able to see what it's going to be able to do. So yeah, I love that they finally were like, yep, it's not going away, guys. We know that you use this as a really useful troubleshooting tool. So we're listening to you guys. We're going to keep it. Just place it somewhere else. Alrighty, June. Oh, wasn't June huge? June. So I'm pretty sure June. Was it in June that was like the 2 core updates, or was it in May? Honestly, we'll just go on it about it. So with core updates, there are always things that like rock people, and they're always just like, have I been doing the right thing? Am I going to be positively impacted, negatively impacted? Who really knows? But for this one, or one of the ones, like this was around like detecting spam and preventing it from turning up in the SERPs. Super interesting. So look, spam is something that has existed from the very second that search engines have been around, but it's really difficult to be able to detect this. Honestly, if you're not trying to spam people, for the most part, I don't think you really needed to worry too much about this one. I didn't see any of my clients really be hit in a negative way around this, which is good because mostly I work with like small operators, really super niche operators, all the way up to like some really big enterprise account clients. But honestly, like you can always go back and sort of reevaluate the way that you be able to do this. How to improve your search results and things like that. So there's always some really great takeaways. Keep doing the same things. I just don't think that there was anything too big to worry about this one. And I'm pretty sure even like there was it John? Was it Danny? Anyway, John or Danny, I'm really sorry, guys. I actually don't remember, but there was even like a little bit of a PSA that Google released around that time, just to kind of like give a little bit more guidance about the Google updates and why they're super important. Involving like how core updates make broader improvements to search in general, and just like some things you can be able to do around that. But yeah, that's pretty much like, for the most part, that's what it was around. Google's page experience update. If you're still with me, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sipping lots of water to be able to get through this. But it's been a really super interesting year in search. But yeah, Google's page experience update. This is when it started to roll out. It was pretty slow off the mark, but this is around like Core Web Vitals. Now, we had a really nice heads up from Google around Core Web Vitals. Like, Core Web Vitals are going to be here. Like, you really need to look at like the speed and the quality and all kinds of other signals to really, have as much heads up. And I think that kind of worked out really well. People were very knew that it was coming. They were looking at this stuff. Like, it was starting to like really go into Search Console and be able to see, the Core Web Vitals like performance report in there, and they can sort of get a good idea of how to sort of mitigate against or again like mitigate any issues and things like that when it was fully rolled out. So it is there. It does measure a very kind of like hard metric, which is kind of like around user experience, focusing a lot on just making sure that those pages are loaded really nice, quickly, and succinctly. So yeah, there was like heaps of delays around it, but pretty sure it was fully rolled out by August. But yeah, again, like would love to be able to see what your guys' thoughts were. I, to be honest, didn't see anything. Like, there were some site audits that I did, some technical audits that we helped, some people through, when the loading of that was like super behind. And when I say that, like, the load times were very significant to the point where it was like super noticeable. We'd go to the site and we'd have to wait. In some instances, there was like a timeout. It was, so we'd be kicked out and be like in a little waiting bay with some, one of my larger clients. And that took a massive hit to traffic and massive hit to revenue, of course. But, those things, make a hell of a lot of sense. So again, I think Core Web Vitals are really good ones to be able to be aware of. And there's some really, really good, meaningful things you can do. But, if your page is slow, your competitors are less slow. You might find that, if you've done all the optimization, that can be where you can be able to shave off a little bit and get a little bit of an edge. So I think in those kinds of instances, like, in those two types of instances, it's a really, really good one to really consider. More features for Google, for business offers on Google. So this is like providing more features for business to basically show what they can offer. So this one was, I think, like it was more of like an outreach thing, like an outreach initiative that was released around that. I'm trying to remember this one, but I think, like, whenever I think about, like, more business offers and things like that for especially for local businesses, I always think of Google My Business. Google My Business is like almost like a second, website for a lot of people where they might not have, like, fully rolled out things. There's a lot of really, really great things that you can be able to do in there. You can be able to, like, link in bookings. You can be able to, give people information about click and collect, or you can, around delivery times. It shows when you're busy, when you're open, all kinds of really, really nice things. And a lot of the time, like with your Google My Business, a lot of the decisions that they make are really based on the images that you present in there. So from memory, I think it's like a 3x3x3 rule where, have pictures of your business in the outside so that people can see it off the street and be able to recognize it. Something of the inside, maybe a reception desk, maybe a photo of the team, like, who you're going to actually, like, have a chat to, is also really, really good. Any pictures of, like, great hero products, like, oh yeah, they sell the widget that's there. Like, hell yeah. Like, that's what I know the business to do and to do really, really well. So I'm going to go there. Other little ones, just to, like, give that a little bit more of a human experience, and also encouraging, customers to, take photos and things like that, because that also gets displayed through Google My Business as well. So I think, like, bringing maybe a little bit more utility to that kind of content, can really, really help build out those profiles and things like that. So yeah, it was particularly good because it was like, you can be able to, have buttons around, like, ordering. You can, say, like, if you're actually closed, hands up here. I can't see anybody, but I'll put my hand up because this is me. But hands up if you've gone to a business because they've said that they're open on their GMB and they're actually in fact closed because of COVID. It's those little touch points that really, really do help, both users in the digital sense, but also in the real world, be able to look at, finding some better, experiences with you and your brand. Page speed scores updated in Lighthouse 8.0. Well, you know what? Like, Core Web Vitals has been starting to roll out now. So why not, Lighthouse be updated? And let's go. All those things were just really there in effect. So again, like this is where we started to like, we had the information there. Now Lighthouse, which is a really great tool. There's also a really great Chrome extension, which is super easy. Just to like, as you're looking at a page, just click on that and it'll generate a full report. It'll be able to pull out a lot of really great information. Now, what I really love about Lighthouse is because it will go into the granularity of like different scripts and things like that. Like, like go through the waterfall, like, be able to see which scripts are the heaviest loading and things like that. You can see literally the cutoff point is like, some scripts like, will go over that threshold. But it will actually give you some really meaningful things to do, particularly for, a lot of my clients that have their sites written in JavaScript and things like that. It will literally pull out, hey, this page seems to be built in React.js. So these are the development documentations around that. These are our recommendations of like how you can start to think about fixing these things. If that's really starting to be on the threshold of, this is a bit too shit. Google expands its shopping integrations. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of gas. It's what happens when I talk too much. Awesome. So Google is expanding its shopping integrations. A lot of this stuff, like when you actually just like see it in there, you can see it right in the SERP. You can be able to like, pick this stuff out. You can be able to buy it right from the SERP. And from a user experience, like, this stuff is like absolutely prolific on mobile. Like you'll see like, sales and things like that, and like attribution on GA and things like that. Like a lot of the time, it is because people are sitting on their phones in bed late at night, more likely, or maybe this is just me projecting what I do. But I'll be able to like go in, be able to buy something, and literally just click on it, click buy, go in there and have a range of selections and things like that. Buy it there. Have like Apple Pay or something like that. Just like automatically Google Pay if you're that integrated with Google, and be able to go through that and actually have your orders placed right from the server. That's pretty big, like for Google Shopping. That was pretty big. That's pretty big. And a lot of the time, we've seen that, from the paid space, like, again, a lot more information around, the things you can list around the products, and you can list around you, the seller, giving people a lot more information about you and who you are and what you do offer and all the great features, and any offers and things like that around that. But now, like, you can really just go in and be able to have like, that seamless experience and really just drive sales from this whole thing. So like I think you like at the end of the day, like as great as that is for the user, I think for the humble SEO here, I think you really need to make sure that your websites really feed this process. That you're compliant, you're compatible. Your Google Merchant, it will be really great to be able to say like, what are the things of error, what are the things that are kind of like in like warning, like this doesn't quite look right. Can you go in and make sure that you check it and that's that's all good, that's all right. Because while you're trying to get like users to the website, you probably already missed the boat. And at the same time, having this, come through your Google Merchant Center, it's just another opportunity for sales. And yes, we want to be able to get as much traffic to our sites at the same time, but we always have to think about like what are the things that are really just going to drive the bottom line, and just going in there and making sure that these things are compliant from a product standpoint is a really great way, a great first start, just to see that that's all in there and that the feed is actually there and dynamically working correctly. Awesome. All right. I think, that was mostly that's there for the shopping integrations. July. So yeah. This is kind of like more of like a bit of an update off the back of like the link update, you know. I think like for this, like I'm going to go back and talk about this a little bit because this is like a really really good reminder on qualifying links and with like the link spam update. So like for a lot of this stuff, like the best practice that one can really think about this stuff, like links are the way that Google understands what content may be helpful, to users, and they can be able to good for sites to be able to see as long as they're being well deserved. The best practice is to avoid methods of acquiring links that violate Google's guidelines, particularly around like link schemes and things like that, PBNs. Like we all know, that word, but at the same time, if you are linking out to other sites, you really want to be able to make sure that you're qualifying those links appropriately. So, they really are looking at this stuff. And again, I actually can't remember when they rolled out, but like, rel sponsored, rel user generated content, UGC, those kinds of markups are really really good ways to be able to qualify, hey, we do have a relationship with these guys, like, yeah, we are sponsored by these guys, or this is actually something that our users have generated on our site. And maybe like when you're looking at all this linked content and things like that, to keep that context in mind. Especially like like affiliate links and pages, like product reviews and guides, and really super common ways for blogs and publishers to be able to monetize their traffic. Like this is a really really great way to be able to actually mark up and make sure that Google is understanding what content within what context they should consider these kinds of links, and the content that they're being being linked out to. A lot of this stuff, we get this question all the time, around sponsored and guest posts. Look, a lot of I really like this is just the way the world works. It's a super common way that sites monetize and accept sponsored and guest posts from other sites. Super common, like especially for smaller bloggers and things like that, like wanting to like generate this stuff. So these written articles, they can be written by or in the name of one website, but also published on a different website. And in the past, like campaigns of like low quality sponsored guest posts, primarily intended just to gain links. Like they're very much aware of this stuff. And at the end of the day, when we're looking at the Google link spam update, a lot of this is really just to be able to look at better detecting and basically taking out of consideration those kinds of link schemes. If it's blatant, if it's there, if it's just pretty much purely there, it might be lumped into a different bucket where it will get penalized a lot more. But honestly, like they just strongly recommend to site owners to really just look at the tags and things like that, the rel attributes, the rel values that they attribute to those types of links, because again, they put them in there for really specific purposes. Around this, if there's like excessive amounts of these types of things without those proper link tags, that could actually incur a manual action, or in some cases, maybe worse, an algorithmic action, which will take stereotypically a lot longer to be able to detect and be able to find. So they could be very, very, they can be really try again. That's just what they're doing as far as like really being able to do this. So they're leaning pretty hard on those kinds of things with the rel values to be able to tag things correctly. But yeah, they're just really just there to like really improve the quality of that. So I'll leave it on there. Going back to it, the display and video search 360. Display and video 360 gets new frequency and reach metrics. So this is a pretty fun one, I think, like with this sort of stuff. Sorry. Now, with display and video 360, like this is all around like adding dedicated data visualization, right? It's there to show like all the reach gains for really successful campaigns that just span across different channels, and has a the frequency goal set right down to the campaign level. So this is really there display and video 360 is there to be able to calculate and add reach advertisers to be able to get that programmatic guaranteed deal with that. So, you can be able to see that. You can be able to say, the added impression reach from a frequency cap. And you can be able to see, how many users out of the total pool of users. And, be able to look at additional unique users reached by that campaign. So that's a really, really great way to be able to even just see, how effective this is. And I think when you think about it, having access to that real time kind of reach, it's a really, really great way for people to be able to visualize the campaign performance. And even if you're looking at this like in a programmatic kind of view, you can be able to set and tweak things, based off some real-time data that is coming through to say this is working, or this isn't working as well as we hoped. Let's tweak this, let's change this to be able to have better outcomes. So the added reach data for that is really, really awesome. Going back to the Google review snippets bug. Look, I'm not going to talk too quickly about that one, but again, just because I'm mindful that we've talked a little bit about Google reviews and Google My Business and things like that. Review snippets. Well, this isn't Google My Business, sorry, but more about schema and stuff like that around product schema. But review snippets just weren't displaying in Google search. I remember this came through from one of our clients, just being like, hey, we lost a whole ton of stuff. I thought, that it was all good. Mainly because this kind of client just has a heavy focus on the SERPs at all times, and they just really wanted to know. And it was really hard for us to sort of go through and be able to say at the end of the day we said we don't know. But yeah, this was a bug that happened, and yeah, I don't know why I put that in there. I think I just wanted to beef up some something that would happened in July. All right, I'm just going to go through to August. Google rewriting page titles. I think this one eventually got named as Linkgate. For everyone that has seen this stuff, honestly, whenever Google decides to make up its own mind and to be and to say what, instead of your title tag, we're just gonna take away we're just gonna get the H1 tag, and we're gonna put that into the results now. Needless to say, I think most people, especially on Twitter, were kind of outraged a little bit. But when I think of this stuff, I always think okay, why is it doing that? Now, in some areas, there was some ridiculous examples and fairly warranted, totally. But at the end of the day, Google is talking about quality all the time. That's always that's always the central pivot point about a lot of the decisions that they make. Now, we all know, the title tag is the thing that, we go in there, we optimize and we try and match the search intent with the page content. Doesn't always happen. A lot of the time, people look at things with high search volumes and just shove that in there, and maybe even do a little bit of keyword stuffing, or just just put it absolutely everywhere, and it doesn't quite hit the mark, right? So I think it was from my opinion, I think the reason why that was in there was really just to say well, you know what, page titles might let's just ignore them for a little bit. and actually pull out maybe the heading 1 tag, because the heading 1 tag is kind of like there and it's like written like a proper article, and that makes sense for the content that's underneath it, and it's actually probably more aligned to the content than what maybe the SEO or the in-house marketer thought was a relevant result. So, that's my hot take. And again, always go back to the logic. Why do you think that this has been pulled out? What are the insights? Like, what does this look like for your page? What does it look like for your content versus what does it look like for the content that Google is marking up as the best results for that keyword in the SERPs? I think this like second time I've said this again tonight, but like again, like it's such a really good reminder just to like check what Google is presenting to you. Google Merge Center. There's heaps of stuff with Google Merge Center. Love it. I mean, as like organic listings have really come out, it's just been a really fun thing to be able to see it nicely evolve, and as that team is working on it. But it's really just finding new ways to find deals and to be able to go through and be able to shop on that stuff. So look, it's if you're selling something online, and we've already seen it like in the previous months that we just talked about. They wanted to add some more information around the product. They're using the structured data to be able to get a much more consolidated view about what's happening in there. Look, images, Discover, YouTube, all these things like are if you're eligible for these services, like why not, right? Why not? Just put them in there and see how they go. It's basically just about like looking at the real estate in there and getting it there as much as possible, and then sort of like consolidating and seeing what works, and then go back in and to optimize and whatnot. Make sure that there's no I guess that there's good validation like across as much as you can. Google adds author URL properties to identify authors. I think this is around authorship of articles, I think. So I think this is August isn't that long ago. I'm pretty sure this is like when I wrote this was just about like the structured data. So again, I'm going to like touch back on, or if I haven't talked about it yet, Google EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. Like whenever it's talking about like structured data and around authorship, like more qualifiers and things like that around that are super useful. And I think like the author.url property, to link to a page that actually identifies the author of an article. Well, any more work around that just to really, really help draw in that association is there to be able to strengthen search engines' understanding of, okay, it is like with this content, who actually wrote it? Like, yeah, it might look good. Like, Google Mum's working hard, like that, multitasking unified model, working hard to be able to get a lot more of an understanding of this. We're seeing some passage indexing, taking whole passages in it. But now, who actually wrote it? Yeah, it's good information, but has this sort of like been an amalgamation of like different snippets from other places, or is this actually something that an expert has written and qualified and thought about, and is basing some of this stuff with confidence from their expertise? That's kind of like really, I think, the common denominator of like where this is all like flowing towards. And again, as spam is being fought, trust is such a massive element, particularly off the back of like a lot of misinformation across the web. Going through and having a lot more qualifications around this is, I think, a really good step in the right direction. But that's just my thoughts, and I'd love to know yours around that. This one, larger images. We love larger images. Particularly because, like, I think the thing that my partner and I, like, we don't argue a lot, but we will argue about who is picking what to eat for dinner, because we, like, by the end of the day, making decisions like that is super hard. And I think a lot of people out there can relate to that. But, scrolling through and being like, dinner ideas or stuff like that, like larger images, like, yeah, they do have better click-through rates, like really, really delicious looking stuff. Like I am going to click on that. And if there's something larger, something I can really see, like, heroes things, like I love like a nice variety of things. I love like, I love greens. I love like eating them. I love cooking them. I find vegetables a really, really like fun thing. So I'm going to look for those kinds of things with the images that I click through to. And honestly, like, they're now putting those things in Discover a lot more, and I think that that's really, really going to be able to help things. So I think this change has led a lot of publishers and a lot of our clients to really wanting to see this sort of stuff be able to reflect in their content. So if you're looking to really increase traffic to the site and really improve that click-through rate, having larger images on your site, but making sure to add like the max-image-preview large meta tag. That was a really, really good one to be able to lean on, just to really, really make sure that we're going to be able to benefit as much as possible from those kinds of from that update and that change. So that was a really, really good one to be aware of. Yeah, that's August. September. Sorry, a little bit lean on September. But look, I'm going to be talking about the page experience update. Look, it rolled out, and this is when I think I even said like, they were planning for this to be in August, but then it got pushed through to September. And yeah, it's finally here. Like what I said before, I still kind of like really, really think, that to happen. And there's been a lot of really, really interesting studies that have come out, since. I think, was it Systrix or maybe it was Search Metrics or something like that. Apologies if I'm like brutally getting this wrong. For all of your hard work out there to the SEOs in charge of those studies. But there's a really, really great study that looked at 2 million URLs. 2 million domains, and it looked at the core web vitals across all these millions of domains and things like that, and actually looked at it and what are the top ranking ones, what are the ones that have seen some benefits, some losses and things like that. And for a lot of them, like and again, the super hot take, a lot of them didn't really see too much of an impact. I think coming back off it, I think like I was saying before, looking at like if it doesn't load to the point where it's a real problem, like it's super long, and it's just been a total hassle. Statistically, we see it all the time. If it gets to the point of being in a waiting rooms, yeah, you're going to be dead in the water with with revenue. You're going to be dead in the water with rankings, and it's going to absolutely affect traffic. In that shorter to longer term if you don't fix it. But in saying that, if it's not so bad and, you're looking at, the other competitors and things like that, and they kind of got similar results, is this one to look at, over things like improving the content or, adding some, some things in there that will help, users make better decisions and be able to click through, to be able to find things more on that CRO, like conversion rate optimization kind of sense. Again, like this is my personal opinion with this stuff. Based on what I've seen as an SEO, and based on what some of the studies that I've looked at, just to be like, is this me and like what I'm looking at with my clients, or is this sort of a larger thing? I'm kind of like propped up a little bit by that, and I am given a little bit of confidence with that opinion because of those things. But at the same time, as we're rolling this stuff out, I just don't. I look at like what is the most logical, what is something that is universally out there with website performance improvements. Yes, if you are now sort of like in the top one, like maybe even like the top 5 results in the SERP, and you're, a big enterprise player and you're wanting to sort of like edge out your competitors, then that's where page experience becomes a real weapon. Because if you can really lean out that stuff and be able to look at that and make sure everything's server-side rendered, then that can be like, the game changer. That could be like the thing that just inches you over the line and just, props you up a little bit, ahead of the curve. Because of those kind of like, really, really nice minute things that do, like, when you look at all of this stuff, statistically really will help you. But again, this is my hot take on this stuff. And that's when it did fully roll out. Yeah. That's just September. October. What a month October was. This one's super interesting. Continuous scrolling on mobile. This is a pretty interesting one. Where we see like, okay, like I'll just do like, look, Edna mode style and things like that. Look, super interesting. I'm not getting that, go through with continuous mobile scrolling, but other countries are. But a lot of really interesting things, like, it's totally going to affect like click-through rate. Like if you're not getting on the first page, you might be on the second page. Well, maybe that's not where you hide the dead body anymore, because you're going to see like, the behavior be able to change. Because again, what do we love to do, when we're kind of like, just again on our phones, like, sitting on our beds looking real gross like this? What do we love to do? We love to spend a little bit more time. We love to like go through, we like to search stuff and be able to find stuff as well. So like, I'm really interested to see how continuous scrolling is going to roll out. Whether or not that this gets, brought out for the rest of the peeps. But yeah, like, very, very super interesting. I'm pretty sure that it was only supposed to combine the first 4 pages, but honestly, like I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to go through. Indented search results. Little SERP feature here. Like, you'll sort of see like, you'll see it, and then there will be like a little indent, or it'll be like moved over a bit to the right, and it'll be there, and it kind of like catches your eye, because as you're going through, it's, it breaks the mold. Like, it's not just like this, it's like those things, again, like, we look at this stuff and we think like statistically, like, what is the impact of how this is going to be happening, and like, I think it's super interesting. I think Google might be like, trying to go back to like, grouping several of, search results for like different key phrases, under like maybe even a top result. It's a little bit of an interesting one, but yeah, it's not really affecting everything. But that was something that did happen in the month of October. Also, what happens that we saw, infiltrating the SERPs was like little short form videos. I'm pretty sure this is one that old mates, and massive shout out to good friends Brody Clark, tweeted about. He was like, hey guys, like, short videos carousel is now appearing like in the desktop view. And it was like super interesting to be able to see this, because like traditionally, yeah, these are things that we might see on mobile, or honestly, it kind of even looks a little bit more like you would do like with the social media, my god, just kind of like making myself sound a little bit silly there, but like even Instagram there, like, shout out to my friends who got married over the weekend, but like those kinds of things, that's now like on desktop. Super interesting to see that sort of go through. And again, going back to what we're saying, like, I think earlier in the year, thinking about new ways to be able to like look at the SERPs and be able to see what Google is presenting to users, to be able to like make things a little bit helpful, but also presenting you with opportunities of how to take your content and display it in a different medium, to be able to get more eyes, like more attention, and and maybe better click through to your pages to be able to show things. And again, this is maybe why I've got such a great love of video, because if you start from video, you could be able to pull out the transcript, and that could be the blog. You could be able to take all the audio, and that could be the podcast, or that could be the SoundCloud link that exists on there. You put closed caption on those things that could really, really go in and be able to help, aids, differently able people. All these kinds of really, really great ways to be able to, take what you've already doing, but just reinvent the way that it shows up, on your pages. And again, structured data is, your helpful tool to be able to get as much of that context as happening. And if Google looks at this, topic, and is like, yeah, we're not going to bring in some video, elements and put in the SERP, well, they're just going to look at you guys and be able to reward you for all that hard work. Big moments. Big moments. Look, I kind of I think this one is more affecting the publishers out there. We're looking at this sort of stuff. And it's around the way that search engines are now to curate information, and things like that. Look, for a lot of this, this is the real time stuff, breaking news, big moments, as it's happening, something big happens. A lot of the time, I think in search, people look at news and things like that after it's occurred. But at the same time, I think Google's just kind of, again, maybe taking the social media thing and putting short form videos. They're looking at its sister websites and sister apps and being like, well, Twitter is the place to be for current information. For me personally, I don't know. Social media is a sort of a second thought for me, but I love Twitter. I love if I'm not posting, I'm reading. I'm scrolling, I'm reading. I'm loving it. Every now and then I might post something, but it just gives me an idea of being on the pulse, having the finger on that pulse, and as things are happening, knowing about it. But I think search engines are well, how do we be able to look at this kind of frequency and be able to reward real time stuff within the search experience. And I think that's really what Big Moments is there and is intended to do. As far as adaptability and things like that, we'll see how it goes, but it's super interesting that that's really something that they announced, so that wanting to roll this out, because really, news results are always one of those things that are really hard to sort of populate quickly, but also to evaluate the authenticity of that rollout. So it's super challenging kind of problem for search engines to be able to get out there, but yeah. Look, the other thing that Google MUM, the multitasking unified model, the natural language processing thing, that is a little bit more of I guess more information about how it's going to be out there to understand video content. So when it's saying that we're seeing this stuff it's getting out there, it's wrapping this stuff up, we can be able to see little snippets of videos and little time tags and things like that. And again, really some interesting ways of using structured data to be able to help inform this and be able to chuck that up into maybe a rich result in the SERPs. The Google MUM is really there to be able to help understand this video content in a much more consolidated way. So I think, this is really a big part of really helping people to be able to solve problems and make, better decisions in their buying process, to be able to say like, oh, well, you're wanting to buy like a lightweight tent. Awesome. But how easy is that to set up? Is there like lots of fiddly parts? Like, yeah, it might be super light, but it actually takes an absolute age to set up. Well, here's like a really quick video, a really quick snippet thing of actually someone in the video answering that specific question, and whoop, tent fixed. Tent is being put up. So again, super interesting way that this algorithm that is like 1,000 times more more evolved than Google BERT, is really out there to be able to help us define better video content. My gosh, I really have talked for an hour and a half. I really can talk all day about SEO. All right. November. So, we're in December. We're now talking about last month. And again, Saijo George has a really, really wonderful newsletter. Just give a quick shout out to Saijo, who's a wonderful co-host that is taking a well-deserved break in the lead up to Christmas. But he has a wonderful newsletter, TLDR, Too Long Didn't Read newsletter, which is available for subscription. You can be able to just easily just sign up for it. It's all free. It'll go into your news, your inbox, and be a really, really great wrap-up of all the things that are happening with search, with paid media, with social media, but a really, really nice little snippet of what's going on and, good things to be able to take away. But November, the core updates. Yay, core updates. Again, I think everybody always thinks and worries about this stuff, but again, we've just basically got another spam update around this stuff, clearing out the lower levels and things like that. So again, going back to the earlier one back in June or May, June, sort of around that time. Look, if you're not spamming, this doesn't really affect you. But I think for a lot of people, when you're looking at your LinkedIn profiles, you've got all those low tier kind of, pretty shitty looking links. A lot of people do ask us a lot of the time, what is, should I disavow this? How should I do this? Honestly, maybe this is a really good one for you to be able to reach out to a really good experienced SEO that has a lot of experience looking at this stuff, because I would never ever bulk disavow anything. I think here at Studio Hawk, the most that we'll do at any one time is maybe 50 links to disavow, but we'll sort of consolidate and be okay, well, we've got an outreach program that's there, that's really just looking at niche relevant links and being able to go in to be able to essentially have a replacement, so getting out the crap and then being able to put it in with something that is a lot more relevant to you. So, that's a really, really good one to be able to maybe just take into consideration. But, I think around this, rankings, did kind of take a bit of a, I wouldn't say, should I say tumble? But yeah, they were a little bit dicey, right on the eve of, Black Friday and, one of the biggest sales of the year, and in a lot of industries, pretty much eclipses Christmas sales, and even end of financial year. So, for that sort of stuff, people were really worried about that impact. So I think, again, take a really good consolidated approach. I've already spoken a little bit about links, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But something else that we did, talk about last month, in the last SEO Collective, and also just in the last month of this year, page experience coming to desktop. Page experience. So we're talking about this a lot for when I was talking about the page experience updates for Core Web Vitals, a lot of this stuff is around the mobile experience, because mobile first indexing is here. Mobile, the mobile experience, a lot of the time we're not carrying around our laptops, just to be able to look at this stuff. Like I was saying, again, up late at night on the phone, just scrolling around, doing all this stuff. But at the same time, I think a lot of what Google is also going to just remind everybody is hey, yeah, we're seeing a lot of really good improvements to mobile, but don't forget about desktop, because while this is very much going through, and the mobile experience is something that we really want to make sure that it's mobile friendly, and we're looking at code between the desktop and the mobile, wanting to make sure that they're the same, so that one doesn't have to ignore that, or a preference of that with mobile first indexing. Look, we're still wanting to make sure that the desktop experience is 10x, is good. So I think when I saw and heard about this stuff, to me it was just Google's way of kind of putting out there into the ether, we're going to run a page experience update on desktop. Is kind of their way of just saying, oh, Goji, sorry about that if you heard that. That's just their way of saying look, make sure that you're giving as much love to desktop as you are to mobile, because this is still very much something that is important to users. Again, going back to the logic of this stuff, quality is big. Quality is important. It's important to our users, and search engines are really just, Google's just really wanting to remind all of us to make sure that we're considering that stuff. I didn't include this here. I've obviously got a little dot point that I haven't updated, but I talked about it earlier, but Google My Business is now Google Business Profile and local shopping. I don't know why. I think I just missed it in actually writing this here, but I do remember that because it's only last month. It's not completely fallen off the radar. But look, it's they've rebranded. And like I was saying, earlier in this call, in this chat, honestly, they're doing it so that they can be able to automate things a little bit easier, and make this a little bit easier for them, for their systems, and hopefully to make it easier for us. But I think a lot of us have got some pretty polarizing opinions when it comes to that sort of stuff. Duplicate reviews, spam reviews, all kinds of other stuff. But anyway, look, no longer will this sort of be a separate thing that you have to go in and be able to register for. Remember to update and log things. It's just going to all be a part of managing that listing on Google Maps. So, look, if you're say service-based business and you offer plumbing services and things like that, here are opening hours. As well as you want to be able to manage your reviews, publish it, some posts, manage all the content, all the stuff like that. All of that is, on one place, which is great. If you're a business owner with that physical outlet, things like that, honestly, you should be, all over this stuff already. But, this is really what it's going to be aiming to do. But, with Google Maps, there are some more there are some new things that it can be able to do, more information around your business. Some nice little extra details about the overviews, even for your restaurant. I think, I don't really. It's kind of annoying. I wish I directly work with a client that has a restaurant, but one of my team members was saying oh wow, we can actually look at doing the price per person, for this stuff with their with the restaurant that they manage. That's really freaking cool. A little area busyness. Again, we've already seen it, Monday through to Friday, the times of the day where it's busy and things like that. But if something that's maybe not just specific to the business, maybe it might be in a shopping complex, or something like that, and that whole area is just absolutely chock-a-block, but maybe that store isn't as busy. Still, those kinds of things, those kinds of details are really, really helpful for users. I'm just thinking about a practical application, parents with small children who want to get in and get out with not too much fuss, like, wrangling all the kids. Those kinds of things is actually pretty awesome to sort of know when you're wanting just to like go into that location. Also, like a little like a directory tab tells you that within the place it's a list of which businesses are in a particular area, and yeah, it'll be I don't know. I don't think, again, I don't work on a restaurant. If you are a restaurant and you want to have me look at your stuff, please shout out. We'd love to have a look and be able to maybe apply some of this stuff for myself personally. But anyway, a directory tab, it'll be really interesting to see how that rolls out. And again, if you're a US based business, I think there's like some grocery shopping stuff there, but I don't know too much about it because, again, like I don't have a restaurant client that I manage. So I don't really see this. I just remember like reading this stuff. But yeah, so very much for that. Yeah, Google business profile in local shopping is like lots of really, really nice updates to that sort of stuff. December. Now, look, this is super new. We are in the month of December. It's only the 7th of December, but we've already got like a nice little product review update that is right on the eve of Christmas has been announced, and I think they were like, it takes like they're saying like it'll be a few more weeks for that to fully roll out. But you know what, like super similar to what we saw up in April. With like similar like little algorithm update that I don't even think that I mentioned in April. I'm sorry, it's been a big year, and I'm trying to remember everything for you guys. But like websites basically that made improvements around their product review updates. Oh no, I did say that. The product reviews update, and if you're like really making sure that all the schema and things like that are updated, like look, product schema is a pretty much a very standard hallmark for any e-commerce website, right? If you're getting something wrong, like as fundamental wrong there, then you're gonna be looked at a little bit more critically. And look, there's some really, really great third-party tools that really go through to be able to manage this stuff. With some of my enterprise level clients, like we work a lot with Yopo that are really, really good for being able to like, bring this all in. But look, like these are really good ones to be around because like as this update has been rolled out, you really just want to make sure that, these are going to be able to be done. This update, is preceding the spam update and things like that. Look, there's a lot of chatter around, whether this is good timing or not, but I think, again, going back to the core thing of like, why this has been around this. Look, it's upon Christmas time. We're just coming off the back of Black Friday. And they're just wanting to basically just make sure that no one is in there trying to game the system. Don't game the system. Like, with your reviews and things like that, don't pay people to go in and do this. Like, be smart about this. Reviews are really, really great trust indicators, but look, if you're trying to write your own or pay some people and you've got like a little bit of any sort of digital footprint around that, there are some serious algorithm updates to be able to try and like track and look at how to get rid of that stuff. I don't know. I'm not a scientist around this stuff, but look, let's go to best practices. We're looking at product reviews. Like I've talked a lot about like, just don't do it, but like what is actually the best practice around that? So, Google is like, introducing like 2 new product review requirements that are really, really clearly aimed at looking at fake reviews, right? That first requirement is that the product review page needs to provide evidence that the product has been actually used by the person reviewing it. pretty big. I'm thinking immediately about like productreview.com.au, which is a really, really big site here in Australia, and a really important one for a lot of our enterprise level clients, because it's hugely authoritative. The people that run that site and work there as reviewers, are super respected because they'll have photos of these products. They'll have videos of them testing it and being able to go through this. Like, YouTube is also a wonderful, great resource for these products and things like that. But those kinds of like points of evidence, used by that person reviewing it, they can have like some really, really clear trust signals around this. And consider it like, if there's like the Google quality guidelines, that massive PDF of people that actually go through and manually review this stuff. Yeah, you might be able to fool an algorithm, but you can't fool a person as easily. Someone that's actually like looking at this stuff, like with the best reasoning and logic processes. And I know that maybe someone else might say something against that. That's fine. But anyone that's like there and trained by Google to be able to go through and manually review this stuff, think about like the page experience that you're producing for that. That's there. And again, that's just the first requirements. And again, thinking about what we were saying back in April around all those affiliate sites that really got hit pretty hard by that product review algorithm update. Look, like for those guys, like many of those low quality reviews, they're closely to like rewritten versions of the product specifications, or anything that's like obviously is like a little bit of a cut and paste job, really super sloppy. Obviously, you're going to get targeted within that stuff, as this slowly gets rolled out again. Consider that. The second requirement is that the product reviews offer like multiple buying options. This is a pretty big one, guys. Like going back to like the product review update, actually, you know what? I know I'm just talking out a blank page here, but I'm actually just going to bring this up on a separate site, on a separate page, because I kind of really want to get this one right. There we go. There we are. Google's product review update states, users have told us that they have trust reviews with evidence of products actually being tested, and prefer to have more options to purchase the product. Provide evidence such as visuals, audio, or other links of your own experience with the product to support your expertise and reinforce the authenticity of your review. Include links to multiple sellers to give the reader the option to purchase from their merchant of choice. Now, for the exact same thing that I was talking about before with productreviews.com.au, like this is a massive one. Like, which TV is the best to buy? These kinds of things. Tom's Guide, that's already been brought up, and you will be able to see like they've already sort of like put things like best TVs you can buy in December. Again, people think about Christmas, all kinds of things like that. Choice.com.au is also a really, really big one, because they employ literally experts, and I think like particularly around money and things like that, like they do a lot of consumer stuff, so what are questions around this, like how to sort of do this, there's a lot of this stuff that is around this stuff, which is better, doing the more consolidated things, screen resolution, like really going in and looking at all the different kinds of things around that topic cluster, right? And saying like, okay, well, people care about, LCD and OLED screens, how do we sort of make this sort of things? And then there'll be like, drop downs of more consolidated information, right? Screen resolution. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of analysis, but again, I think choice.com.au does it pretty well. and really just like looking at all the different modifiers around this topic cluster and just talking about it in a really, really nice in-depth way. And again, if we take like Google EAT into consideration, Dennis Gallagher, there's clearly an author, association here. We're going through here, and we can be able to see like, his particular page as the expert that we're even taking consideration of this stuff. And look, yeah, I'm using Choice because they literally have been testing this stuff for 50 years. As an Australian consumer here, I'm so familiar with Choice because they have a really, really big authority here. But they've been doing this, and they've been doing this right for a very, very long time. So that's why I immediately I was thinking about this, productreviews.com.au is another one that, again, I think is pretty good at being able to hero this type of thing. But yeah, super, super interesting, guys, to be able to do this. So yeah, there's a new documentation, like write high quality product videos. So yeah, great. Just going to get rid of that stuff. Alrighty. So now we're here, 2021. It has been a pretty massive year, without saying the least. Now I'm going to have a little bit of a caveat into like maybe, the future of search. Little bit of a plug. Yeah. I actually got this today, and that's why I was like, saying like I'll look back to this like later on this. Well, like a non-subtle plug. Like it could not be like less subtle with this stuff. But I was honored to be asked by David Bain from the wonderful team at Majestic to have a little segment, and I wrote mine about JavaScript rendering, which is a pretty big one that I've had to deal with a lot for the last 2 years, particularly site migrations have really come into the fold. But there's some fantastic stuff in here about content, about indexation, around index bloats, crawlability, around analytics, around tracking, and things like that from literally 66 of the most wonderful people in the game of SEO. So that's a really, really good one. But again, I think like when this sort of when we're always just looking at what to sort of do for the next year, I've said like a key common denominator keyword, if you will, throughout this whole thing, and it's logic, and quality. A lot of the stuff is around quality, and I really do I cannot stress enough. If you are looking at your page and you're like, okay, I just really want to be found for desktop monitors. I really just I want to be known for selling desktop monitors. Look at what Google is actually presenting as the best view for the best result for desktop monitors, and be able to look at those sites, how they've laid them out, and that is now your benchmark. That is what you have to beat. And if there's a super a super authoritative kind of site that's in there, Harvey Norman, The Good Guys, JB Hi-Fi, those kinds of ones for desktop monitors. Well, maybe look at all the different types of longer tail keywords that are still transactional, and maybe look at hearing your product line around that. There's all kinds of different ways to be able to do it, from starting off with a small website all the way up to being an enterprise level account. And I encourage you guys to reach out to SEO Collective, and we have a full panel of some brilliant SEOs, paid media experts, traffic, conversion rate optimization, tracking and analytics and things like that. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. That would be awesome. And guys, thank you so much. It is 8 o'clock. I have talked for nearly 2 hours straight, but that is a really, really great retrospective of 2021, broken down in a really nice consolidated way. So yeah, love that. I have not, like I said, I have not been looking at the feed at all. And thank you so much, guys, for posting some questions into here. I'm just going to go through really quickly. Thank you so much, Mead and Nik Ranger. And sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly, but yeah, it has been a massive year in search. It's been massive, and why not talk about it? The Ramfishkin study was super amazing, again, like, it's such a really interesting one to think about. I was thinking about it, like, click-through rate. A lot of people have some ideas around click-through rate. Click-through rate isn't like a logic that isn't a metric that I think like algorithms are taking too heavily into consideration, because click-through rate is still something you can be gained. Like, it still needs that context. It still needs that relevance. Like, those things are still super important, but it is such a really great study, and one to sort of consider when forming how you're going to be able to mitigate between what the SERP is taking out of your pages and being able to put it in there. And particularly around, like, the zero clicks, like, Google's just like keeping everyone sticky on their own on their own results pages rather than your own. It's just one to really, to really consider, as we're always pushing the limits with structured data, and with having a lot more SERP features be there and available. They said that product review update wouldn't affect e-commerce and it was only affiliates. They lied. 100%. But again, like, I couldn't agree more with this. But honestly, and I can only imagine, like, if Peter was here, like, he'd have like some really great opinions around this too. But look, product schema is your bread and butter for an e-commerce site. If you don't have it, like, that's pretty essential, because you're providing extra information, not just for Google search, but for like, if you're putting it into JSON-LD, it is almost a universal language there for a lot of different search engines. I think there's like one that doesn't. Maybe it's Baidu. I will. Yeah, sorry, my brain is now starting to like shut down a little bit after a full day of working and then talking to you guys for 2 hours. But I apologize. But yeah, they 100% lied. May was the most important month, in my opinion. Introduction of the shopping graph makes feed optimizers like me super excited. We get organic LIAs for things like iPhone 13 on mobile due to the shopping graph. Yeah, and Peter is one of the most extraordinary SEOs, particularly when it comes to e-commerce. And 100%, like, when it comes to the shopping graph, that's super awesome. Not seeing too many questions in here, more comments and things like that. Yeah. Our worst core web vital clients, zeros across the board, crush their rankings during the page experience update. Yeah. And to be honest, like, same here. And I was just like, why? And like, authority. They're a massive authority in this space. And they've got such a brand presence. Like, I think, like, even their brand, like, garnered like 40,000 searches per month on average, here in Australia. Like, they're super massive authoritative. So yeah, they weren't affected, but at the same time, like I said, that study I think is by Search Metrics. I will try and find it and send it to you guys. But yeah, you can just like download the PDF of that. But yeah, super fascinating. And I think it's just there for Google to be like, hey guys, remember us talking about quality? Please. Like, let's just have a lot more of consideration about that. Look, guys, I am going to finish up and go home, and I'm still in the office, get some much needed dinner. Thank you so much for this. Again, if you have some questions and things like that, please find us on Twitter. I think only my Twitter's in this one as well, but actually I might re-edit that and add in Saijo's and Peter's as well. And also Peter Machinkovich's as well, because he's always like a wonderful guy in the comments as well. big love, massive shout out to you, my friends. And thank you so much to Chris for signing in, for Depeche, and for Moises. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing names wrong. To Dan, to Manican, and everyone else that tuned in to this final retrospective of 2021. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the new year. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Bye.